welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really radical plan to perform what's being called institution-wide surgery on India's entire aviation sector. And hey, if this actually works, it could completely change how millions of us fly. So what's really at the heart of the problem? Well, take a look at this. By August 2025, just one airline, Indigo, is on track to control over 64% of the whole domestic market. I mean, think about that. That's almost 2 out of every 3 passengers. This isn't just a company doing well. It's a huge red flag that the entire system is dangerously out of balance. But, that massive market share, it's not the actual disease. It's a symptom. It's like the flashing red light on your car's dashboard, screaming that there are much deeper systemic problems that have been building up for years. Right, so this monopoly didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the result of a perfect storm. We're talking about brutal taxes that cripple airlines, totally unpredictable airport fees that make planning a nightmare, and a market structure that has basically become a graveyard for any kind of real competition. And let's just talk about costs for a second. This slide really shows the chaos in just one single fee, the user development fee, which, by the way, is baked into your ticket price. Now, depending on which airport you fly out of, that fee can vary by a staggering 575%. Yeah, with no cap, no consistency, airlines have no way to predict their own costs. It's created this wild west of charges. And of course, an environment like this has real consequences. We've all seen major airlines like Kingfisher, Jet Airways, and more recently, Go First, just completely collapse. And this isn't just a string of bad luck or a few bad business decisions. It's a clear pattern. It shows you that the market conditions are so harsh that competition just can't seem to survive. And that leaves a huge vacuum for monopoly to just swoop in and fill. Okay, so how in the world do you fix a system that's this broken? Well, it's not with little tweaks here and there. The proposed solution is what the source material is calling institution-wide surgery. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the proposal. The authors are being crystal clear. Small bandages are not going to work. The goal is a complete overhaul of the institutions, the rules, the economics, everything that governs Indian aviation. This is about hitting the reset button on the entire system. The plan is basically a 5-front attack. First, it wants to hold the monopoly accountable. Then, it's about slashing those crippling costs that are suffocating airlines. Next, rationalize that chaotic airport fee system. After that, you have to actively encourage new competition. And finally, overhaul the regional flight scheme, UDAN, to actually connect smaller cities better. So first up, Pillar 1. This one goes straight for the biggest player on the field. The aim here is to correct the market imbalance, and not just with new rules, but with some pretty serious financial consequences. And these proposals, they are aggressive. We're talking a massive regulatory fine, direct compensation to passengers, and, here's the kicker, a hard cap on market share at 55%. This would actually force the dominant airline to shrink, to either sell off planes or give up routes, just to make room for other players. And just so you understand the scale of that fine, 5,000 crore rupees is more than double Indigo's recent annual profit. So this isn't a slap on the wrist. It's a penalty that's designed to fundamentally change behavior, and it's actually drawing on precedents set by European antitrust regulators. But look, this isn't just about punishment. The next 3 pillars are all about creating a much healthier environment to operate in. The focus is on fixing that crippling cost structure by lowering taxes, capping those crazy fees, and ultimately making it possible for more airlines to come in, compete, and actually survive. Now here is probably the single biggest game changer in the whole plan. Aviation fuel, which can be almost half of an airline's total cost, currently faces effective taxes of up to 22%. The proposal is to bring it under a National Goods and Services Tax, a GST, at a flat 5%. That move alone would immediately make Indian Airlines way more cost competitive. So what does that actually mean in real terms? Well, it's projected to slash the price of fuel by about 25%. That is a massive saving that can then be passed directly onto you, the passenger, in the form of cheaper tickets. The plan also wants to bring some sanity to those chaotic airport fees we saw earlier. So instead of that wild 575% variance, there'd be a simple, predictable cap. This would lower the maximum fee for domestic flights by almost 70% and create a stable, predictable environment for every airline. And finally, the plan aims to just smash the barriers that have kept new airlines from even entering the market. This means getting rid of outdated rules like the 520 rule that just protected the old guard, allowing 100% foreign ownership to attract global investment, and even reserving prime airport slots specifically for new players. The goal here is really simple. Roll out the welcome mat and invite competition in. So, okay, this is obviously a huge undertaking. How could something like this possibly get done? Well, the blueprint isn't just a wish list. It comes with a very specific and pretty ambitious timeline for how to execute it. The plan lays out this aggressive 24-month roadmap. And you can see the logic here, right? It starts with accountability and actually changing the laws in the first half of 2026. Only after that's done does it move to actively bringing in new players and transferring assets, with the ultimate goal of having a rebalanced, competitive market by the end of 2027. So let's just imagine for a moment that this plan gets implemented flawlessly. What would the Indian skies actually look like in 2027? What is the real end goal of all this surgery? Well, the projected outcomes are nothing short of dramatic. The dominant airline's market share gets cut by nearly 10 percentage points. Average ticket prices drop by 30%. Fuel costs are down 25%. And maybe most importantly, the market shifts from having just 2 major players to a much healthier ecosystem of 4 or 5 viable airlines. And this brings us right back to where we started. This is the target. Compare this chart to the one we saw at the beginning. The dominant slice is smaller, the other players have room to grow, and crucially, look at that. There's a new slice on the board, a new entrant. That's the sign of a healthy, open market. This is what success looks like. So, the blueprint is detailed, the goals are ambitious, and the potential benefits for all of us flyers are huge. But it all really hinges on one critical question. This kind of plan demands massive political will and a tolerance for some seriously disruptive change. So the question is the patient, the entire aviation ecosystem, truly ready for an operation this profound?